Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Marco Houwen. He is a seasoned entrepreneur, leadership coach, transitioned from scaling global tech companies to pioneering the integration of spiritual intelligence in business. And he's the founder of Zentrapreneur, and he guides executives and entrepreneurs to uncover their growth, identity, foster innovation, and achieve peak performance with inner peace. Welcome to the show, Marco.
Hi, AJ. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Marco. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now, will understand from you about future ready leadership. In that backdrop, we'll have our conversation. But before that, Marco, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that audience knows a bit more about who they are listening to.
Yeah, so a few words about me. So I started off as an entrepreneur in my first company, I think was 98, 99. I created. It was a disaster, to be honest. And it was a good learning curve. And the biggest learning I got out of that is like, don't try to do things all alone. And so my second venture was already a tech venture. So I went really with experts and we created a hosting company. And then in this little country of Luxembourg, an independent internet group with, as I said, a hosting company, an European and now a worldwide domain name registrar, and voice IP companies, and then. So coming really out of the logic of creating companies, buying companies, selling companies, succeeding, failing. I had my shares of failures. I had my shares of successes. So with 52, I would not say I have seen it all, but I saw a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. But did you see so much that you are talking about spiritual intelligence now, Marco? What did you see that others are not able to see? They are still about more money, and some more money.
That's a really great question. Actually, what happened is there was a very specific moment in 2017 where this all unfolded or started to unfold for me, where I really felt I cannot do that anymore. Like, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but as more people told me, "Oh yeah, amazing what you're doing," oh, with all that success, as more it felt hollow, like empty for me, because there was no grounding. There was nothing which really grounded me to, and I didn't understand to what at that moment, but what grounded me. And so I started my own research. I started my own experiences into where do I want to go? What is really working? That's where I got into this logic of okay, well, spirituality for myself became important again. I reconnected with that aspect of me, and then I understood over time, and it was this process, how important that is, so that we can be really successful in business. And when I talk about success, it's not the financial success as such. I love to talk about happiness, and success in all its forms is part of that happiness. And so financial success obviously is important, but it is not the only way how you can become happy. It's part of it, but it's not the only one. So that's what I am putting into my work.
That's what. So you talk about Marco, about growth identity. Help us
Yeah.
understand what this growth identity is. People think that you'll become a CEO, you will have a big identity, you will have a big, get some funding, your company will have better identity, your valuation will increase, you'll become a unicorn. Is that not identity? What is growth identity?
Well, growth identity, and I will go back more to the foundations later, but to answer directly your question, growth identity is not an identity you have now and then it's like, that's who I am. F everybody around me, I am like that. That's not how the work works. So growth identity is an identity which is evolving. And our identity needs to evolve in this incredibly fast moving world. Like just talking about AI and how are we positioning ourselves as human beings now as our cognitive intelligence gets less and less important? So growth identity is based on the acceptance of your identity as it is now. And that's an introspection. Who am I now? Am I really the one I talk to people I am, or I am not? And then it's about your purpose. What is your purpose as a person? What is your purpose as a company? And about your values. And in a growth identity, that's like a flywheel. It always evolves because your values will maybe evolve, your purpose for sure evolves, and your identity evolves with it. That's why I call it growth identity. It is the basis for every human being. It's the basis for every company. You cannot take strategic decisions and be perpetually successful without knowing and evolving your identity. I can give one example or two. Even a negative and a positive example. Kodak, yes. Static identity. They define themselves as, we are a company of chemists. In end of the 70s, there was a man who invented the digital camera at Kodak. They literally told him, no, we are a company of chemists. That was their identity. Where are they now? Not there anymore. Nokia, positive example. Literally was a paper mill in the 19th century, got into technology and all that, like in the 60s, 70s, and then became the world leader in mobile phones. They are not world leader in mobile phones. What few people know is they are still on top of their game, because now they are the back end with Huawei and maybe ZTE. They are the back end of the worldwide 5G systems in the back end. And now listen to this. What is, since the beginning of the 80s, their identity, and they put it into two words: connecting people. They're still connecting people. They do it really differently than they did it in the 2000s, when we all were happy to have the newest Nokia phone. But they're still there. And that doesn't mean that they didn't went through hell and back, but their identity allowed them to evolve into what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So about this growth identity, why is it important for leaders, especially leaders?
Especially leaders, and I actually let me take an example of one of my customers I'm working with right now. So here is a brilliant developer, a brilliant architect, software architect, and he gets put into the most important position in the company, which is he has to run the most important team, 15 people in the company, which is really defining their thing. And he says, well, I have no clue. I know how to run a company, and now they put me there. That's great. I love it. But yeah, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because he didn't step back and looked at his own identity, leadership identity. He didn't look at how he is reacting, how he is. And the moment he does that, and that's what we are working on, the moment now he does that, so he sees the good and the bad, and then he can act. But he can act on the basis of a purpose. We will create, what is my leadership purpose? What do I really want to achieve here? And what are my values? And then the identity is growing, hence growth identity, into what you really want, rather than being driven by an identity which is driven by all these external stimulus we have, and all these teachings we got over the times, which have nothing to do with that, and we have no control of it. So what I help people is to understand their identity and to make it evolve where they want to make it evolve. Well, that's work. It's not something which is, you cannot say, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. So you have to do the work. You have to follow what you decide to do and so on. But that's the growth identity.
Right. For organizations, how do you grow, an identity-based organization, especially with so much of disruption? People want to disrupt. And when you disrupt, in terms of bringing new things and everything, do you have that time to grow your growth identity? How should you look at it?
It happens anyhow. So the evolution of your identity happens consciously or unconsciously. So it's your decision to make it conscious. Now, it is not, obviously, there is a kickoff where people need to understand the concepts, but then it is about, to be aware, well, we are using now. Another example of a customer who is in the field of doing auctions in some very specific environment. But this environment will most likely be regulated like financial services over time. Right now, they have nothing to do with any of this. But with the CEO, I already discussed that. And he says, yeah, well, this is where it's going. So they need to be ready. And the organization, because the identity is what will make everybody work into the direction they want, the company wants. So the organization needs to create an identity which is englobing that. Because right now, they have nothing to do with any they do regulation, but not with financial regulation, not with this really very complex framework and very restricted framework. But they need to get into that. So what we are doing is we are working on what is it, how we want to express that. So to stay flexible, but to be ready to embrace very harsh and complex regulation. If we're not doing that, that's just saying that if that's not done, that's what happens. And I saw that in many startups. You're not doing that. What happens then is that at one moment in time, you will be in a situation that you would love to go there, but you have such a non-regulated mindset in the whole organization that you literally have to throw out 50% of your people and developers, and because you can't do that from one day to the other. So it's important that you see strategically, where is it going? What is it I need to implement into how I perceive myself and how I am perceived by others? How are my employees perceiving the company? Because that's how you hire people. If you are saying, hey, we are the most amazing startup, and you get these people, and then you bring somebody in and you put him in front of I don't know, PSD2 or all these regulations which can happen. And they say, well, I didn't sign up for that. And then you lose that talent. But there is talent out there which is really good. And you could have attracted if you would have had that language. But you don't have that language if you're not implemented it at the core of your organization.
Right, Marco. So isn't it very ironical that today's time, when we are, it's the age of AI, artificial intelligence, we are talking about the importance of spiritual intelligence for leaders. How do you see these times at the moment?
My favorite topic. I will try to make it short. So I'm from Europe. So in this European environment, we say since something like 1629, since Descartes said, I think, so I am, we think that the only thing which matters in how we perceive the world and how the world perceives me is my cognitive intelligence, because that is the only thing which is important. And somehow that brought us where we are today. Now we can debate if we would have needed more EI, more emotional and spiritual intelligence before, but that's for another time. Now we are here. But today, what is happening is that AI, this cognitive intelligence, is actually taken over by AI. I call it the biggest human identity crisis ever. Because we don't know anymore who we are, because since 500 years we say, hey, it's my brain who runs the show, but it isn't. So what is the way out of this? The way is to go deep in ourselves, to understand our emotions, to manage our emotions, to really go deep into emotional intelligence. And we talk about that since end of the 90s with Goldberg and so on. So we talk about that very much. But what is missing there is rooting this in meaning. So what do I do with these emotions? Why do I have them? Why is that happening to me? Why do I go through that? Who am I? Where do I go? These questions are innate in every human being. And because we were only here thinking, and we thought we don't know to go there. We don't need to go there. But now we have to. We don't have a choice. So only there we can ground ourselves to find our way and our coexistence with AI. Because that is, now, AI can emulate emotional intelligence, AI can emulate spiritual intelligence, but AI cannot be spiritually intelligent because it is not sentient yet. The day it is, we have another. Looking forward to that podcast. But it's not. I have my ideas. Okay, but it's not sentient. So the only thing which really is rooting us as human beings, and I don't have all the answers here, but the new world of humans will be grounded in what I call aligned intelligence. Our thumbprint of how much cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence I am creating for myself to make myself unique. So our uniqueness cannot lie in cognitive intelligence anymore. It can only lie in our blend of these three.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Marco. So you talk about, align intelligence, integrating IQ, EQ, and SQ in leadership. For leaders, do you think these are challenging times, or these are times for aligned leadership, aligned intelligence? This is also an opportunity for the future. How do you see that?
Yeah, well, when we talk about artificial intelligence, there are a lot of these doomsday sayers. Well, the end of human beings and so on. Well, it might, I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but I'm a positive thinking man, and I think we can see this as the biggest importance ever, the biggest opportunity ever, because we can create a world with real meaning, which we never did, because the thinking will be done somewhere else. The deep thinking. We will ask the right question and get answers. It's a very positive time. But how do we ask the right questions? Is by going and asking ourselves the questions. Where am I? Who am I? Where do I come from? Where do I go? Why am I here? My whole journey started when I was around 20 years or so. Why am I on this planet? That's what the question I asked myself 20, not 30, 32 years ago. That question answer, or it's not about the answer, it's about asking that question continuously, will create other better questions to AI, and will create a better world through AI. So I think there is a huge potential, a huge opportunity. And for companies, there's no way around that. Or we create companies with robots and algorithms and we do money, but who do we sell to? So somehow
Absolutely.
humans need still to have a game to play, or we'll have a top 1% richest people in the world who sell to robots, and there will be 1% of 8 billion, so there will be 80 million person or 8 million person on the planet, and the rest will all die off. I don't think that. I don't think that's where it will go.
There is much to learn and understand. So let's learn from your company, Zentrapreneur.com. What do you do as entrepreneur? If you can explain for the audience.
So what I do, so my activities is really like I I like to seed. So I do keynotes. I talk about these topics. So I really go out and go into boards for who want, or into companies or larger events, and I talk about these topics on different angles, like in identity, business innovation, but also the identity crisis. And then I am a coach. So as a coach, I lead, I help leaders to go deeper for themselves and still be happy and still be efficient and even be more efficient. And then I do workshops in companies where I help companies to put, actually, as I said before, talking about growth identity, to put that in place, but then to put it in place on all the layers. I work with people out of HR and so on. So I have different people with whom I work who go then into processes, putting into place. So, and and then I am, yes, I love to organize environments around spiritual intelligence and talking about it. I am about to set up or to join a club around conscious business and create a conscious business network and so on. So it's all about, so what it is about, it's not about or like well-being. It's about understanding that if we touch our true inner peace, that's where we will become, and we will be really efficient and performant, because that's what's like. when I started off here, and I hated it myself when I was running my companies, when people tell, oh yeah, just do this, it's for the well-being of people. Honestly, I'm an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I'm not primarily interested in the well-being of people. I'm primarily interested into my efficiency and my performance as a company. But when I understand that my performance as a company comes from the fact that people are incentivized, they are understanding, they are loyal, they create belonging to my organization, they grow as persons, that only then I can really create that performance. Well, then everything becomes like it becomes a perfect circle.
Absolutely. There is much to learn and understand from you, Marco, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, know more about you. Also, many companies would want to have you as their coach. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so just go on my website. You can book a call with me. You can. I have a link. I think you will maybe post put it in the. So there's a link. You just click on, get into a 30-minute call. Just getting to know each other. What's your challenges? What you're looking at? What would you like to know? And I will see. We'll take it from there. It's I do classes, but right now I don't have some scheduled. So, but anyhow, this will be on my website, and so people can see that. So, website, LinkedIn, and my booking page.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining
Thank,
us.
thank you so much, AJ. That was really great.